Sunday night and the weekend's over. The headlines tonight. Duke of Wellington cuts ribbon, train spots appear. Marilyn Monroe gets blown by subway vent. And Lehman Brothers declares bankruptcy, says, "You owe us $600 billion. Plus, coming up, we investigate why Norman Conqueror's horoscope said, "Invade now, ask questions later." Those are the headlines. Tonight's forecast: darkness with scattered apathy.
Today, News Bang, your factual cordial fray with future's fervent failings. Dam, 1830.
Chaos erupted today as the Liverpool and Manchester Railway opened its doors to the public. Eyewitnesses report scenes of utter pandemonium as thousands of people attempted to board trains simultaneously, resulting in a mass pile-up at Liverpool station.
The Duke of Wellington, who was in attendance, was seen frantically waving his arms and shouting, "For God's sake, form an orderly queue," before being swallowed up by the surging crowd.
Local resident Ethel Higginbottom, 87, described the scene. "It were like nothing I've ever seen before. People were climbing over each other to get on them iron horses. I saw a man lose his trousers in the scrum."
As night fell, the new signalling system malfunctioned spectacularly, plunging the entire line into darkness and causing widespread panic. The timetable, hailed as a revolutionary concept, was abandoned within hours, as trains arrived and departed at will, much to the delight of spontaneous travellers and the despair of punctual businessmen.
1954.
Ceci est terre. New York City was plunged into chaos last night as a woman's dress attempted to escape her body. The incident occurred on Lexington Avenue, where hundreds of onlookers watched in horror as the white garment made a desperate bid for freedom.
Eyewitnesses report that the dress, clearly unhappy with its lot in life, took advantage of a passing subway train to make its daring escape attempt. "It was like nothing I've ever seen," said Mildred Finkelstein, 83. "One minute it was behaving itself, the next it was trying to fly away like a kite in a hurricane."
The woman in question, identified as Marilyn Monroe, fought valiantly to maintain her modesty, but the dress had other ideas. Despite wearing 2 pairs of underwear, a precaution that now seems woefully inadequate, Ms. Monroe was left exposed to the night air and the prying eyes of the public.
Her husband, Joe DiMaggio, was reportedly furious, threatening to knock the stuffing out of that no-good 2-timing dress. The incident is expected to lead to a bitter custody battle over the couple's extensive wardrobe.
2008.
The financial world was rocked to its core as Lehman Brothers, the venerable investment bank, spontaneously combusted in a spectacular display of fiscal ineptitude. Eyewitnesses report seeing bankers leaping from windows with their golden parachutes, only to discover they were made of subprime mortgages and worthless derivatives.
The collapse sent shockwaves through Wall Street, causing traders to soil their bespoke suits and weep into their caviar. One trader, Biff Moneybags, was seen frantically trying to stuff his pockets with shredded mortgage-backed securities, screaming, "It's still good. It's still good."
Meanwhile, on Main Street, confused citizens attempted to barter their now worthless stocks for essential goods. Mrs. Edna Pennyworth of Hoboken offered her entire 401k for a loaf of bread and a pat on the back.
The government, in a stunning display of competence, immediately sprang into action by throwing taxpayer money at the problem until it went away. When asked about the bailouts, Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson said, "Look, we've got to save these banks. Who else is going to foreclose on your homes?"
Now News Bang, icing the cake of truth with a thin layer of evidence.
And now, with a forecast as unpredictable as a cat's mood, here's our weather guru, the inimitable Shakanaka Giles, to tell us what Mother Nature has in store for us tomorrow.
Well, 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 if it isn't the first hints of autumn creeping in. Tomorrow, the south will be a right mess, with rain so heavy it'll feel like the heavens are having a go at you with a fire hose. Bring your wellies, lest you end up with soggy socks, the kind that make you want to weep. Over to the Midlands, where the temperature will be as lukewarm as a politician's apology. Expect a light drizzle, the kind that makes you question whether it's actually raining or if you've just sweated through your shirt. Might as well stay in and binge that new period drama, I say. And finally, the north. Brace yourselves, as the wind will be howling like a banshee on a mission. It's the kind that'll have you clutching your hat and praying it doesn't end up in the next county. At least the sun will be peeking through. A brief respite before the storm returns. In summary, wet, tepid and windy. Sounds like a typical day in Britain, really, and that's all the weather.
Fudaist 1462.
On this day in 1462, the Ottoman Empire decided to redecorate the island of Lesbos in a most peculiar fashion. Mehmed II, clearly not one for subtlety, chose to make his mark by arranging 300 Italian soldiers in a rather permanent display. One can only imagine the property values plummeting faster than you can say conquest. For more on this historical interior design disaster, we go to our war correspondent Brian Bastable. Brian, what can you tell us about this extreme makeover? Ottoman edition.
Brian Bastable here, broadcasting live from the smoldering shores of Lesbos, where the air is thicker than a Byzantine wrestler's beard after a 3-day kebab bender. The stench of victory, my friends, is a heady blend of charred flesh, gunpowder, and what I can only assume is simmering regret. Those poor Gadalusio chaps, they thought they could hold off the Ottoman hordes with pointy sticks and stern looks. But Sultan Mehmed, bless his cotton socks, brought a whole new meaning to divide and conquer. Let's just say those Italian mercenaries are having a bad day. Well, half a bad day, if you catch my drift. The battlefield looks like a butcher's shop decided to play Twister with a pile of spare body parts. It's enough to make a Spartan warrior reach for his sick bag. And believe me, Martin, Spartans aren't known for their delicate stomachs. Even Dante wouldn't touch this scene with a 10-foot pole, or a quill for that matter. This is the ugly truth behind those fancy history books, folks. Behind every glorious conquest lies a mountain of severed limbs and a river of blood. It's enough to make you want to crawl into a hole and eat worms. Figuratively speaking, of course. The sun setting on Lesbos, casting long, bloody shadows across this butchered paradise. But fear not, dear listeners, I've got a secret weapon stashed away for the apocalypse, a chocolate digestive. So if the world goes tits up, at least I'll go out with a smile on my face and a crumb on my flak jacket. This is Brian Bastable signing off from the front lines of futility, for now.
1972.
Scandinavian skies were rocked by a daring mid-air drama today as Croatian nationalists commandeered a passenger jet. The airborne bandits demanded freedom for their comrades and a hefty ransom, turning a routine flight into a high-stakes negotiation at 30,000 feet. Swedish authorities, caught between a rock and a hard place, or more accurately, between terrorists and a ticking bomb, scrambled to defuse the situation. The incident left an indelible mark on aviation security, proving that even the friendly skies aren't immune to earthly conflicts. For more on this airborne escapade, we go to our crime correspondent, Ken Schitt.
Good evening, you fucking miserable meatbags. It's 1972, and while you're busy shaking your ass to disco and growing facial pubes, some Croatian shit-for-brains decided to take a fucking joyride on Scandinavian Airlines Flight 130. 3 armed cock-woombles from the Croatian National Resistance, higher than a giraffe's taint on their own bullshit, hijacked a plane full of innocent passengers. Why? To spring their ass clown comrades who got fucking nabbed for shooting up the Yugoslav embassy last year. Because nothing screams freedom fighter like endangering civilian lives. Am I right, fuck knuckles? These trigger-happy cum dumpsters redirected the plane to Malmö, Sweden, threatening to blow everyone to fucking Valhalla if their demands weren't met. The Swedish authorities, bless their Viking-ass hearts, negotiated through the night like it was a goddamn pillow fight at a teenage girl's birthday party. In the end, these Croatian cock gobblers got what they wanted. 6 of their jailbird-ass pirates and a cool 500,000 Swedish krona. Then they fucked off to Madrid, faster than a priest in a playground, where they finally grew a conscience and let the crew go, probably to diddle themselves in celebration. This clusterfuck of a hijacking exposed more holes in airline security than a motherfucking colander. It's a miracle these passengers didn't projectile shit themselves inside out from the sheer terror of it all. So next time you're sipping your in-flight cocktail, remember, your plane ride could turn into a political shit show faster than you can say, "Mama fucking Mia." This is Ken Shit, reminding you that the friendly skies are about as friendly as a starving piranha in a kiddie pool. Fuck you, and good night.
Breton, 1791.
This day in 1791, French playwright Olympe de Gouges threw a rhetorical bomb into the heart of the French Revolution. Her declaration of the rights of woman and of the female citizen was a scathing indictment of the revolution's glaring gender bias. De Gouges, a woman clearly ahead of her time, had the audacity to suggest that liberté, égalité, fraternity should apply to all citizens, not just the ones wearing powdered wigs and breeches. The response from the all-male revolutionary elite? Let's just say they weren't exactly queuing up to kiss her hand. For more on this early feminist manifesto, and its decidedly chilly reception, we go now to Hardem and Pesto.
Martin, I'm here in Paris, where the spirit of revolution is still hanging in the air, along with the smell of fresh bread and unwashed revolutionaries. I'm joined by Madame Olympe de Gouges, a woman who's causing quite a stir with her, shall we say, forthright views on the rights of women.
Pesto, Madame de Gouges' Declaration of the Rights of Woman is considered one of the foundational texts of feminism. Have you had a chance to, actually read it?
Well, Martin, it's a rather lengthy document, and my French is a little, shall we say, rusty. But I did glance at the pictures, very impressive. Lots of frowning women waving scrolls.
Pesto, there are no pictures in the Declaration of the Rights of Woman. It's a political pamphlet, not a graphic novel.
Right, of course, Martha. So, Madame de Gouges, tell us, what prompted you to write this big, strongly worded document?
Monsieur, it is an outrage. The men of the revolution speak of liberty and equality, yet they deny women the most basic rights. We are treated as chattel, denied education, denied property rights, denied a voice in our own governance.
I think she's referring to the lack of female representation in the National Assembly, Pesto, not to a shortage of quality chattel.
Say, Martin, silly me. So, Madame de Gouges, what's the plan then? Storm the Bastille? Start a knitting circle and plot revolution one stitch at a time?
Monsieur, I advocate for peaceful change. I demand that the National Assembly recognize the inherent rights of women. We are not second-class citizens. We are not silent shadows. We are French women, and we demand to be heard.
Pesto, I think Madame de Gouges has made her point quite eloquently. Perhaps you should step aside and let her enjoy the last few moments of her freedom.
Last few moments? Why, what's happening?
Never mind, Pesto, just stay out of 18th century Paris. It's a minefield, literally in some places.
Just news bang, spreading the awareness, smearing the confusion.
And now, for a traffic report that's more treacherous than a unicycle on cobblestones, it's Polly Beep. Polly, what's brewing on the travel front?
Top of the evening to you, my lovelies. Polly Beep here with a traffic update that's more chaotic than a pub brawl on a Saturday night. First up, a nautical nightmare down in Cornwall where the HMS Whiting has gone and beached itself. Talk about a ship out of water. It seems the captain mistook the Doom Bar for a giant sandcastle. Anyone planning a trip to Padstow, best bring a shovel and a bucket because you'll be digging that ship out yourselves. On the A30, it's a right royal car park as everyone and their horse is trying to get a glimpse of the stranded ship. Avoid it like the plague, my dears, unless you fancy a 20-mile tailback. And finally, a warning for any of you venturing out on the Cornish moorlands. The sheep are drunk. That's right, folks. A rogue barrel of Navy rum has fallen off a wagon, and those woolly wanderers have been getting stuck in. Expect erratic bars and spontaneous outbreaks of sheep tap dancing. This is Polly Beep signing off. Drive safe, my lovelies, and try not to hit any inebriated livestock.
Dam, 1830.
And now, for a journey through the annals of transportation history, we turn to our science correspondent, Calamity Prendeville, with her unique perspective on the Liverpool and Manchester Railway.
Good evening, viewers. Today we're steaming back to 1830, when British ingenuity revolutionised transportation with the Liverpool and Manchester Railway.
Imagine, if you will, a world without the comfort of a train journey. No clickety-clack of wheels on tracks, no lukewarm tea from the buffet car. Well, thanks to the brilliant minds at British Rail's ancestor, the L&M, all that changed.
The Duke of Wellington himself graced the grand opening, no doubt impressed by the sheer Britishness of it all. Legend has it he exclaimed, "By Jove, it's faster than my horse," before promptly ordering a first-class ticket.
Now, this wasn't just any old railway. Oh no. It boasted cutting-edge technology like the double-track system, ensuring trains didn't play chicken with each other. And let's not forget the revolutionary timetable, a concept so mind-boggling it took years for the French to grasp.
But the true star was the steam locomotive. Powered by nothing more than water and good old British coal, these iron horses could reach the blistering speed of 30 miles per hour. That's almost as fast as my Aunt Mabel on her mobility scooter.
The public reaction was electric. People flocked to see these mechanical marvels, some even fainting at the sight. One onlooker was quoted as saying, "It's like a metal dragon, but less scaly and more punctual."
So next time you're stuck on a delayed train, spare a thought for the L&M Railway. Without it, we'd all still be travelling by horse and carriage, and I'd be out of a job. This is Calamity Prendeville, reminding you that British innovation is always on track. Toot toot!
News bang. Truth incarnate served on a bed of red herrings.
And now, a look back at this day in 2008, when the financial world trembled and Wall Street wept. Lehman Brothers, once a titan of investment banking, crumbled like a house of subprime cards, filing for the largest bankruptcy in US history. The global economy shuddered, stock markets plummeted, and bankers everywhere frantically searched for their golden parachutes. To discuss the aftermath of this financial fiasco and its lasting impact on our wallets and waistlines, we turn to our business correspondent, Perkin Stornoway. Perkin, are we all doomed, or just mostly doomed?
2008. Lehman Brothers. A real shocker. Fastnet, becoming a veritable maelstrom of toxic debt. Subprime this, mortgage-backed that. Dogger, visibility poor, outlook, stormy. Nobody saw it coming, did they? Except perhaps those with a keen eye on the Fitzroy barometer. Always a reliable indicator of financial squalls, eh? German bite, west or northwest, force 8, occasionally 9. A domino effect, they called it. One bank down, the whole bloody lot wobbling like a jelly on a plate. Panic buying, selling. The FTSE in free fall. The Dow Jones doing the Highland fling. A right old mess. And then came the bailouts. Billions, trillions. Funny money printed faster than you can say quantitative easing. Dodd-Frank. Chromati. Occasionally fish, mostly red herrings. A veritable alphabet soup of regulations. But did it really change anything? One wonders. So, are we all doomed? Thames, light precipitation, becoming moderate. Hard to say. Keep an eye on the Baltic Dry Index. That's usually a good bellwether. And don't forget your galoshes. There's bound to be more financial squalls ahead. And that's the business.
1954.
And on this day in 1954, a gust of wind changed cinema forever. Marilyn Monroe's iconic white dress scene was filmed in New York City, causing a spectacle that would ripple through time. The late-night shoot drew crowds, tested marriages, and birthed a cultural phenomenon that continues to billow through our collective consciousness. But what of the dress itself? For more on this titillating tale of fabric and fame, we turn to our culture correspondent, Smithsonian Moss.
Now, at this point of the evening, we welcome listeners on FM who've just joined us.
Whoa, Newsbang Nation. It's your girl, Smithsonian Moss, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on the most iconic scene in cinema history. Marilyn Monroe's dress blowing up over a subway grate in The 7-Year Itch. I mean, who doesn't love a good upskirt, am I right? So it's 1954 and Billy Wilder is trying to film this super innocent scene. But really, it's just an excuse to get Marilyn's dress to blow up. I mean, the man was a genius. They're filming at 1 a.m. on Lexington Avenue, and the whole city is out to get a glimpse of Marilyn's goodies. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that? The crowd is going wild, and Marilyn's husband, Joe DiMaggio, is getting all bent out of shape. I mean, the dude was a possessive freak, but you can't blame him. Marilyn was a total babe. Anyway, the scene gets filmed 14 times, because the crowd just can't get enough of that dress blowing up. I mean, it's like they're in a strip club or something. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about the underwear, Smithsonian? Well, let me tell you, Marilyn was a total pro. She wore not one, but 2 pairs of white underwear to make sure she wasn't revealing too much. I mean, the girl was a saint. But the real question is, what happened to the dress? Well, it sold at auction for a whopping $0, 4 cents million. I mean, that's a lot of cash for a dress that's just going to get blown up. But hey, it's a piece of history, right? So, there you have it, folks. The story behind the most iconic scene in cinema history. It's a tale of sex, scandal, and a whole lot of wind. I mean, who doesn't love a good blowjob, am I right? Anyway, that's all for tonight. Keep it locked on Newsbang for more culture updates, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our special report on the history of the thong. Whoa.
News bang, pounding nails into the coffin of cacophony.
And finally, a look at tomorrow's papers. The Times, Yanks try to calm storm with silver spray. There's a large diagram there of a cloud. The Telegraph, Malaysia born as nations unite. They've got a map of the area. The Mail, 8 go up and away from East Germany. There's a picture of a balloon. The Express, women priests run amok with frying pans. No explanation for that one. And The Guardian, nation horrified by Edgbaston shirts. Not sure what that's about either. That's it for tonight. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another news bang. And in the meantime, good night. And good riddance.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. News Bang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.